As an aviation enthusiast, I've never flown on many prop planes before. I've always wanted to fly on more of these types of aircraft and see what the experience is all about. After years of patience, I finally got my chance to try Air Canada on their Dash 8 Q400 from Vancouver to Cranbrook, British Columbia during the Pacific Northwest excursion. This is going to be a blast, and I'm super excited for this. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Welcome to Vancouver International Airport on this beautiful July morning. This is my first time at a large Canadian airport, and Vancouver is quite a nice example of such. Security here took only around 15 minutes, so this left plenty of time to check out the airport and its amenities. Feel free to check out those videos on my channel if you're interested. With that being said, let's go ahead and take it on over to our gate, everybody. Welcome to gate C39, where we'll find Charlie Golf Juliet Zulu Yankee, a 7-year-old Air Canada Dash 8 Q400 operated by Jazz Aviation. It's time to get on board and see what Air Canada's Dash 8 is all about, everybody. Let's go ahead and do this. Welcome to seat 8A, everybody. This is going to be an awesome view for the duration of this flight, so let's go ahead and push back and taxi out the runway 26 left for our departure today.
Take a moment to watch the following demonstration outlining the safety procedures for this aircraft. At this time, headsets connected to a portable electronic device must be removed.
Votre sécurité est notre priorité. Prenez le temps de regarder la démonstration.
And here we go for our takeoff on runway 26 left, everybody. I really hope you all enjoyed this takeoff, as that buzz was absolutely fantastic. Alright, everybody, welcome to this really exciting in-flight assessment. We have so much to talk about here, from Air Canada's Dash 8s to the route from Vancouver to Cranbrook, and we also have some really exciting movements in the Canadian aviation landscape to talk about as well. So I really hope all of you are excited for this. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. We're actually going to jump a little bit back into earlier in the flight. I have a really interesting story to evaluate, so I actually had to put my carry-on suitcase under the seat in front of me. This was the first time that I've ever done this, and I could not believe that I was able to get it to fit under the seat in front of me. But as you can see here in this picture, the overhead bin space is very limited on these Dash 8s, so it actually did not fit in there, so I actually somehow was able to get it under the seat in front of me. So it really should have been a checked bag in this case, but we didn't have anybody tell us that it was too big, so that's kind of what happened. So I was able to fit it under the seat in front of me, and luckily we were able to survive that one. So that was definitely an interesting way to start this flight. But let's really talk about the design, speaking of the overhead bin space. So the Dash 8 is a very unique aircraft. I was actually shocked to find out that it holds 78 people. I was completely unaware about that. I thought it was closer to 50, but I was so excited, I guess I didn't really evaluate, how big this aircraft actually is. So these Dash 8s actually hold about 75 to 80 people depending on the configuration. So as you can see here, it's kind of like the size of the inside of like a C-GJZY, for example, but obviously the actual aircraft itself is very unique with the high wing, and then of course you have the landing gear that you can see out the windows, and then you also have the beautiful propellers as well. So the Dash 8 is quite an innovative design. I think it's going to prove quite powerful here for Air Canada. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about the Air Canada Dash 8. So these are owned by Jazz Aviation, or better known as Air Canada Jazz for the most part, for all of us that remember them by that name. So they have quite a fleet of aircraft. So they actually have 39 Q400s, which is really impressive, these Dash 8 aircraft. And they actually have 78 seats, as I mentioned, 39 total of these. So really impressive. But the big part of that is they're only anywhere from 6 to 8 years old, which is super impressive. I thought these were much older aircraft, but Air Canada actually got these relatively recently. Our particular example is Charlie Golf Juliet Zulu Yankee, which was 7 years old at the time of this flight and was delivered in 2016. So it is really fascinating to think about these aircraft not being as old as what most of us would have expected. I definitely was expecting more of like that 15 to 16 year range, but I think they initially started production for the Q400s for some of the US carriers like American and all those. But we also have to keep in mind that the Dash 8 Q400s came later, as we mainly had the Dash 1s and those Dash 3s for American Eagle, for example, earlier on. But I was still just really fascinated that this aircraft was only 7 years old when I flew it. So, but it definitely shows on the inside how nice it is. You can see the images here of how great it looks. So overall, I thought that was really cool, and that was definitely awesome to see. Let's go ahead and talk about this route from Vancouver to Cranbrook. So this is a really great example of Canadian hub and spoke. So that shows us a hub airport flight to a spoke, which obviously is a smaller community. The Cranbrook community is really cool. We'll be doing a full video on the airport itself, but they currently have 2 destinations. They fly to Vancouver and they also fly to Calgary. So WestJet and Air Canada both fly that Vancouver service, while Calgary is just served by the airline of WestJet. So that's really cool to see. Now, the reason that I chose Cranbrook for this particular itinerary, and I'll jump more into it during a layover video, since obviously this is more about the flight, but the reason I chose Cranbrook was because I really wanted to knock out as many prop flights as I could in Canada, because they have a really cool assortment of those. So definitely check out my video on the Harbor Air Twin Otter on floats and also the Pacific Coastal Beechcraft 1900 if you haven't already. That's a part of this series of the prop aircrafts in Canada. We'll also do a full video talking about all these props later on. But the Air Canada Dash 8 is a really cool one as well. It's definitely the biggest one that we used and the most common aircraft type. But later on here, we'll be seeing the WestJet Saab 340 getting out of Cranbrook going on to Calgary, which is the second part of this, why I chose that. So obviously I wanted to knock out all these props, so I started looking around for airports in Canada, any airport really, but mainly smaller ones with good prices that had the opportunity to fly both the Air Canada Dash 8 and the WestJet Saab 340. Those were the 2 that I really wanted to knock out. And it turned out that due to the additional frequencies that they had to Cranbrook, that ended up being the best option for this day. So this Air Canada flight, I think, was 8,000 miles, which ended up being really fair. That's a pretty standard redemption for a one-way ticket on a shorter flight like this from a hub to a spoke. So I thought that was a really fair redemption. And that WestJet flight, it was only like $40. It was a great price, I think, or one of them was really affordable. I forgot which one, but one of them was pretty affordable. So that was absolutely awesome, and overall, it was really great. You've been seeing a bunch of really great views on this flight, so let's go ahead and talk about those, from glacier water to some of the Pacific Northwest Mountains ranges to all the various pieces of the puzzle. This is definitely one of the best landscapes to fly across North America, hands down. There are so many great features here, and I can only imagine what it would look like with more snow, but this was still a really beautiful time to fly over it, especially obviously since it was a beautiful sunny day. It really just made it that much more elevated. So I just love seeing all that glacier water and the various mountain peaks, and then obviously the little communities down below, and then you're also seeing some airports that we flew over as well. So this flight was about an hour or so, so there was plenty to see. And again, safe to say that these clear days in the Pacific Northwest in the summer really made this Pacific Northwest excursion just that much better. Obviously it's a huge component, and you know, when you're trip planning and getting into these various trips, and especially when you invest this much money and effort and time towards planning it all, it's really important to make sure that you're going during the right times to maximize your travel experience, obviously. And obviously, as a weather guru myself, along with, you know, wanting to see these views and wanting to see the great weather and wanting to see that glacier water, you know, all the various pieces of the puzzle, that all is a huge reason why I chose to do this trip in July rather than December, for example. So all that really adds up, and planning is so strategic. And we'll talk about that in future videos as well to help you out on how to find the best time to do your trips as well. So yeah, and I can't recommend enough to check out. I know we're kind of bouncing all around the place, but there's a bunch to talk about. I can't recommend enough to check out that Vancouver content. It was so much fun, and there was certainly plenty going on, to say the least. So many great videos, and we're going to have some awesome videos from Cranbrook as well. We'll really dive into what a smaller Canadian airport looks like. And one reason why I was super happy with this trip content-wise for the airports is we evaluated a large airport, mid-sized airport, small airport. So we've really got it all going here, and this will be the smallest offering yet. So it'll definitely be awesome to see what the small airports look like. So yeah, again, these Dash 8s are really cool aircraft. The propeller buzz was really great. I definitely thought that was very, you know, adequate for what I was expecting. And again, the design, I'm just looking at this picture here, the Air Canada Dash 8, and you can really notice how awesome that wing root is. So that's definitely really cool as well. And I've actually just been talking off the fly, so let me go ahead and look at some of the pictures, make sure I didn't miss any major topics. But I'm really excited for Air Canada's regional fleet. They also have their mainline operations. I hope to take one of those flights sometime, but obviously they have all the 737 Maxes and A320s, A321s, and their wide-body fleet, consists of the Boeing 777s, 787s, A330s. So definitely one of the premier airlines in Canada, and I thought they did a really good job with this flight. Obviously, it was a regional flight, but it was still really great. Air Canada did serve pretzels on this day, so that was quite nice, and I thought, once again, their service was pretty great. Again, considering, obviously that the suitcase had to fit under your seat, that was just quite a moment right there. So that was pretty fascinating to say the least. But yeah, the seat was also pretty comfortable. It definitely was pretty basic, but definitely got the job done for this length of a flight. And overall, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that is all the variables that I wanted to evaluate. But the Dash 8's a really cool aircraft, thinking about the capabilities and obviously how it lands. And you're going to see on this landing video how cool it is for the landing gear touchdown and all the pieces to the puzzle. So Air Canada, really great airline. I really enjoyed my experience. Jazz Aviation did great here, and there's no doubt that this is a great link to get from a hub to a spoke in a reasonable amount of time. With that said, it is time to begin our descent into the Cranbrook International, or I think it's just a regional airport, but anyways, it's actually the Canadian Rockies Airport is another name for it as well. So this is going to be a really cool landing, guys. So this is the first time that I've ever landed on a back taxi runway, so it's going to be really cool to take off on it in the next trip port, so stay on the lookout for that on WestJet's Saab 340. But anyways, we're going to fly right over the airport, and then we're going to do a 270-degree turn right over it, which is going to be really exciting, just a really big loop. So that's going to be awesome to line us up for runway 16. So this is going to be a really cool approach. The bank was pretty substantial, to be quite honest, and I think this is really going to make for an awesome landing. So I hope all of you are excited for it. The scenery is absolutely gorgeous. The weather was spot on, and this is going to be an awesome time to watch this. And be sure to note that main landing gear touching down, the smoke coming off, that was really cool. And this is one of the few aircrafts in the world that you can see that. So anyway, let's go ahead and begin that turn in there. And I really hope all of you enjoyed this, and I'll give my final thoughts on today's flight, and we'll go ahead and touch down on runway 34 in Cranbrook momentarily. Alrighty guys, let's go ahead and summarize today's flight. So I thought Air Canada did a really good job here with their subsidiary Jazz Aviation. It was definitely an adequate service for the hour flight. It was great to get the snack and the beverage as well. And overall, the product was really fair. The seat was fairly good. The padding was a little bit less, but obviously I wouldn't expect much more for a Dash 8. And the legroom also was pretty adequate and definitely sufficient for flights of 2 hours or less. As for the route, I thought it was a really cool one to be able to evaluate. Again, it was really ironic that it ended up being Cranbrook out of all airports that lined up. And there's going to be a really cool event here that we're going to talk about at the end of the video that will lead into the next videos. That was really awesome. But we ended up having a 4-hour layover at Cranbrook, so we'll follow up on that momentarily. But anyway, really cool airport to get to select here, and definitely awesome one to knock out. And definitely check out those videos when they come out. But yeah, Air Canada's Dash 8 is really great. It's definitely one of the best props that you can do of the flight length. Definitely not the coolest one as an aviation enthusiast, but it definitely is very substantial. And again, I really enjoyed this flight. Propellers were great, the buzz was awesome, and it was really cool to evaluate the various components. But as for the passenger perspective, I don't think you can complain too much. It gets you from point A to point B in a reasonable amount of time, and definitely beats the 7-8 hour drive, whatever it would be in this particular case. So overall, I really enjoyed this flight. I would highly recommend it if you're a passenger trying to get from point A to point B, or as an aviation enthusiast like I did, trying to see what new aircraft types are like. And Dash 8's definitely a really cool one, especially from the design aspect. I think that's probably where it shines the most. But the cabin was also nice, and there's definitely plenty of cool components to evaluate in that seat. So with all that being said, this is a really cool landing. Once again, note that main landing gear. That was one of the coolest parts of it, and I thought it was really sweet. But anyways, let's go ahead and touch down on runway 16 rather, at the Cranbrook Canadian Rockies Regional Airport. I really hope all of you enjoyed this. Let's go ahead and touch down. Welcome to Cranbrook Regional Airport, everybody. I really hope you all enjoyed that landing, but stay on the lookout for what's coming up right over there. Man, this is going to be absolutely incredible. What a surprise we have coming up right here.
Yes, it's an air show day.
How about a B-17, the B-25, everybody? Man, okay, so the plan for this layover was just to sit here and work on laptops for 4 hours because obviously, like I said, these were this airport was the one that paired with both the prop aircraft that we wanted to fly. But man, it's just incredible to see what luck does, and it completely lucked out that we had this event to be able to attend during this layover because obviously laptop work can be done at the house. So this is just such an amazing time right here, and this is going to be super exciting. So we'll check those out in the upcoming video, but let's go ahead and park up and summarize today's video.
And welcome.
Thank you all so much for watching this trip report on the Air Canada Dash 8 Q400 from Vancouver International Airport to Cranbrook Canadian Rockies Regional Airport. Be sure to stay on the lookout for all that amazing Cranbrook content with the completely unexpected military aircraft for that layover and all the various pieces to the puzzle, and get ready for that WestJet Saab 340 flight from Cranbrook to Calgary. It's going to be absolutely awesome, and I'm super excited to share it all with you, and I hope each and every one of you are excited to watch it. The pieces of the puzzle continue to come together, the luck continues to shine, and just goes to show what positivity does, and I'm so excited for what's to come, and I hope each and every one of you are as well. With that being said, everybody, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. My name is Redriveraviation. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Just the process. Do you love and love you do. My name is Redriveraviation. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon as Redriveraviation is signing off.